So the challenge is always that we give you advice, you pay me, thank you, ma salama. So we don't take any risk in terms of the outcomes. The total revenue of these 7 firms is like $200 billion a year. So they're absolutely huge. 2 million employees, just 7 companies. You know?
Actually, you have a nickname, Abu Powerpoint. So what's the story behind Abu Powerpoint?
So comparing the size of Al-Mamlaka, obviously the natural resources of Al-Mamlaka, and doubling the size of the GDP in 10 years. SubhanAllah, this is amazing. Which is what do consultants actually do?
What is the impact of AI in consultation company? What is the risk?
Number of people multiplied by the day rate, multiplied by the length of project. That's the simple business model.
بودكاست تكنولوجيا الأعمال.
Hi everyone, I am Dr. Ahmed Al-Salmi and welcome to Business Tech Podcast. Today we are doing things differently with English speaker guests. But I hope my team in podcast may translate this podcast to Arabic speaker audience. In this episode, we will be putting back the curtain on the augmented consultant, how AI reshaping the world of consulting. We will explore how AI efficiency and on another hand, what's the risk for AI for the consultation company. Whether you are a consultant, business leader, or simply tech curious, there are a crucial insight here for you. I'm delighted to welcome our guest, consultant and content creator, Mr. Fahad. Hi, I'm delighted to welcome my guest today, which is Mr. Fahad. He's a consultant and content creator. Hi, Mr. Fahad. How are you?
Assalamu alaikum. Very well, thank you.
Actually, I'm very proud to be with me today as a guest. And if you don't mind, please, as we give our guest minutes to introduce himself. Who is Fahad?
So thank you very much for having me first and foremost. So who is Fahad? Fahad is a very average student who came to Saudi Arabia, joined a consulting firm, fell in love with the country and also fell in love with the industry. Right. Alhamdulillah, I'm on my journey to obviously build a successful consulting business in Al-Mamlaka, but also give back to the people of Saudi. Saudi has been a place which has been amazing to me. Most of my friends are Saudi. I am obviously not Saudi, but I've fully bought into the Vision 2030 and I want to be part of it and I want to help support deliver it. And I think the skills that we have as consultants are something which the Vision 2030 as well as young Saudis can benefit from. So as a result of which, I'm just someone who wants to give back to the country that's been amazing to me, alhamdulillah.
Yes,
so that's basically.
Yeah, but you are from UK, is that right?
Originally, I'm from the UK, yes.
Okay.
Born and raised in London.
Okay.
And then I came to Al-Mamlaka in 2009.
Okay.
So before Vision 2030. So I saw before and now I'm during. And alhamdulillah, the progress.
You've been working for consultation firms?
Absolutely. So when I first came to Saudi Arabia, before that, I used to work for a company called BlackRock, which is a major investment company, global investment company based out of London. And then in 2009, there was a global financial crisis. And then alhamdulillah, I was just offered an opportunity to come to Saudi to join KPMG, Al-Fawzan and Al-Sadhan.
Yes.
And then alhamdulillah, when I joined KPMG in 2009, it was very small. So the consulting industry, even in 2009, was very small.
Okay.
But over the next kind of 2009 until say 2016, completely transformed. It became a huge industry, especially when around 2016, when SIDA became more prominent and, Prince Mohammed bin Salman got more involved. SubhanAllah, the industry has skyrocketed since.
Okay.
So as a result of that, I got to see Vision 2030. Sorry, I got to see Al-Mamlaka before Vision 2030.
And after.
And then the boom that came with it. So as a result, alhamdulillah, it allowed me to obviously learn very quickly, but then also let me build my own business as well. So alhamdulillah, right now I'm an entrepreneur in Al-Mamlaka.
MashaAllah, amazing. Actually, you have a nickname, Abu Powerpoint. So what's the story behind Abu Powerpoint?
So I have a very, very dear friend. He's a Saudi from Riyadh.
Okay.
His name is Abu Saad.
Abu Saad.
Abu Saad.
Okay.
And Abu Saad used to work with us in KPMG, and KPMG's environment was amazing. Like, mashallah, like consulting is a very intense industry. It can be very, very challenging. It can be very pressurized, but the people around you make it interesting and friendly. And as someone who came from the outside, he was the first person in specifically in Riyadh, to take me to Istiraha, take me to the desert, and really help me understand Al-Mamlaka. So I used to always give him a hard time on his PowerPoints, because PowerPoint is, I always say to people, consulting, yes, we do a lot of PowerPoint, but it's like if you want to sell your car, you need to clean your car, right?
Yes.
So with your PowerPoints, they need to look good. And he was like, yeah, Fahad, I built the financial model. Now you want me to do the presentation. I don't like doing presentations. I said, no, you have to do it, and you have to format it perfectly. And he said, Wallahi, you're Abu PowerPoint, you do it. I don't want to do it. And the name just stuck.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they call it you Abu PowerPoint.
Yeah.
Okay, amazing. Actually, Fahad, we have 3 parts in our today. The first part, we will talk about the fundamentals of consulting.
Sure.
So let's start with the basics. What do the consultation firm sell actually? What they sell? What kind of products they sell?
Before products, I would like to introduce and answer a question that most people don't understand, which is what do consultants actually do?
Yes.
Now, if I summarize it in one sentence, consultants fundamentally help decision makers make big decisions. Now, that might sound fluffy to most people, but when you work in an organization that's doing and making decisions worth hundreds, if not billions of riyals, you don't just make decisions like, okay, let's go and do it. You have to do a very calculated and structured approach. So as a result of that approach and governance structures and the amount of impact some of these decisions have, you have to have third-party support to make these big decisions, whether that's through analysis, whether that's through strategy, whether that's through insights, whether that's through expertise, whatever it is. So we fundamentally help big decision makers make very big decisions. So that's what we do. Now, in terms of the products and services that the traditional management consulting firms sell, it's strategy, business planning, operating models, PMO, transaction support, advisory around audit, and so on. So these are the types of products we sell and services we sell, but fundamentally it's around helping decision makers within large organizations, both private as well as public sector.
When we talk about organization, we mean about organization, companies or governments or all?
So the market in Al-Mamlaka, and it is really kind of globally, that 80% of consulting usually focuses on public sector, so government entities.
80%?
In Al-Mamlaka, I think it's about 80%.
Okay.
Whereas in the US, it's maybe like 60-40, and the UK would be 60-40 as well. But generally speaking, the volume of consulting work comes from the governments.
Okay.
Yeah, and of
not
course,
from the companies or the private sectors.
There is a lot in the private sector, but you have to understand that no country in the world has such an aggressive transformation agenda like Al-Mamlaka. So Vision 2030, I honestly can't think of another country that's doing something at the same scale as Al-Mamlaka. I think one country you can think, you think about transformation and a complete transformation, it's like Singapore, but Singapore is very small.
Yeah.
So comparing the size of Al-Mamlaka, obviously the natural resources of Al-Mamlaka, and doubling the size of the GDP in 10 years, subhanAllah, this is amazing, subhanAllah.
Yeah.
So to do that, there's a huge spike in terms of how much work. And I think maybe in the future, it will equalize. So there will be more like 50-50 or 60-40 government
between the private sector and the government sector.
But I think in the first 10 years of Vision 2030, I think His Royal Highness Prince Mohammed and the SIDA has used management consultants perfectly. So the way I look at Vision 2030, it's not a wish list. It's a system designed to deliver results. And as a result of that system, you have one side of the loop, which is about delivering vision, mission, objectives, initiatives. And the second part of the loop is monitoring the progress so that you can track the progress and then obviously optimize as well the planning. So the whole Vision 2030 for me is a loop, which is a very traditional management consulting kind of system. So alhamdulillah, the utilization of consultants in Vision 2030 has made a lot of progress. But at the same time, I do feel there is maybe a little bit of an over-reliance, and I'm sure that will start to reduce. And of course, there are now many Saudi consulting firms that are doing very, very good, and they're competing with the big guys. So there's a lot of, you support the ecosystem of consulting, but I think strategically there will be a transformation even in consulting, which is more Saudi consulting firms, more Saudis will get employed. And of course, this is beneficial for the economy as well.
Amazing. You mentioned big guys. So I have a question here about who's big guys.
Sure.
So we've heard about Big Four.
Yes.
So who is the Big Four and why they are so dominant to this sector?
So if I could explain like a pyramid, right? So
yes.
At the top of the consulting pyramid, you have McKinsey, Bain, and BCG. These are called the MBB firms. These are the tier 1 consulting firms. These are the traditional management consulting firms that are kind of used to, whenever you have a project which has a blank piece of paper, these are the types of consulting firms you would call.
Okay.
So they are at the top of the pyramid. The second tier are called the tier 2 companies. They are very similar to the McKinsey, Bain, BCGs. It's like Oliver Wyman, Strategy and it could be EY Parthenon, Kearney. These are the tier 2 consulting firms, right? And then below that, you have the Big Four. Now, the Big Four are much bigger, but they also do similar things, but they're more on the execution and transaction side of things. There's a lot of overlap between these companies and they compete with each other. But generally speaking, you call the McKinsey, BCG guys when you have the blank piece of paper, and the tier 2 firms, but then the Big Four guys tend to work on the back of work that's already been done by some of these consulting firms. But the Big Four have advisory, but they also have tax and audit as well. Okay. And as a result of which, these organizations are huge. I made a video on TikTok about them, and the 7 firms that I just mentioned, the total revenue of these 7 firms is like $200 billion a year. So they're absolutely huge. 2 million employees, just 7 companies,
2 million employees.
7 companies, 2 million employees, $200 billion revenue globally. So, these are massive institutions, massive institutions.
So the ranking here about the revenue, who make this Big Four? Is it a revenue or what the story behind this ranking?
So no, the ranking it's kind of so if you compare the total revenue, the Big Four has much bigger revenues. But if you compare the revenue per consultant, the McKinsey, BCG guys, per consultant, they charge much more.
Okay.
So tier 1 almost represents how expensive each consultant is. So because they are supposedly the best, they charge the most per consultant. So on average, a McKinsey consultant or a BCG consultant, they charge approximately $400,000 to $500,000 of revenue a year. Whereas a Big Four consultant would charge maybe $150,000 to $200,000 a year. So the price difference between the consulting in terms of the representation of their quality is, in some instances, almost double sometimes.
Okay. Actually, I've heard about these companies. They're facing, even before the AI era, they face some challenges. Can you talk about these challenges that they face?
So, look, consulting as an industry has always had challenges, and the biggest challenge is do as I say, not as I do. Okay. So the challenge is always that we give you advice, you pay me, thank you, ma salama. So we don't take any risk in terms of the outcomes. Okay. So if I tell you, please, decrease your cost, increase your revenue, thank you very much, ma salama, I'm going.
Okay.
But they don't take any implementation risk. Okay. So their income is not related to the outcomes of a project. Okay. So there's always been a lot of criticism around consulting firms. But in Al-Mamlaka now, you'll see that more Saudi consulting firms, they'll say, if you give me 1 million real, I will help you generate 3 million reals. Okay. So there is a change happening in the dynamic, but historically, this is the main challenge or the main criticism of consulting firms, that they don't take risk. But there's a second one, which is sometimes they do very questionable
They do
projects.
take the risk as well. Is that right?
Saudi consulting firms, not the international ones.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is a kind of change in the market dynamic. In Al-Mamlaka, people are pushing for these consulting firms to say, hey, listen, what value do you add? You just going to tell me what to do and then mas salama? Yes. Or are you going to actually help us make the change?
So you have to involve with me in implementing these strategies?
Yes, exactly.
And you have to take the responsibility with me as well.
Exactly. So historically, a lot of consulting firms made money just by design. Help us design the solution. Then it became implementation. Now the third kind of more evolved consulting
Yes,
model is
yeah.
take risk on the outcomes.
Okay,
So if the outcome is a failure, then you don't get paid as much. If it's a success,
You
take
get
as much
it.
as you want.
Okay, amazing.
Yeah. So this is but some consulting firms get now a lot of challenges because of the types of projects they're doing.
Okay.
So like they could be questionable, ethically wrong projects and so on. So some of these big firms have
Yes.
gotten these types of challenges.
Yes, Fahad, I have heard about one of your TikTok video that there is, I think, Ministry of Consultations.
Yes.
Is that they start this kind of ministries or
No. So what I was trying to show with that one is that a lot of the time, whenever there's a new ministry or there is a new kind of a decision, a royal decree, for example, to create a new ministry, the first thing that normally happens is that a royal decree will appoint someone to be the minister. But then what would happen is that they would look for a consultant to help design the strategy of the ministry, the business model, and the operating model of the ministry. So I was just showing people what normally happens when a new ministry is designed, and I've just made up a ministry called the Ministry of Consulting.
So what's prevent the governments to make a ministry for consultation rather than pay billions of dollars?
I think there's multiple reasons why the government uses consultants, right? So number one, there is this, we need help immediately and we are making big decisions. We need to bring in some experts. There is definitely an element of that. Now, in terms of, why would you not create a ministry of consulting? I think a ministry is something significant. It's much bigger than just 15, 20 companies that are doing consultations, right? But I think there's definitely more. I mean, if you look anywhere in the world, there's no ministry of consulting, right?
Okay.
So there's no benchmark, there's no real rationale for it. I think there's going to be more regulation coming into the consulting industry, but I don't think a ministry is the best mechanism of doing that. It probably will be a bit over-designed. Maybe there is an authority, or maybe there is an association of kind of self-regulation, of self-qualification of consultants.
To monitoring the activities,
Exactly.
all these kind of things.
But I don't think there needs to be a ministry. I think that would be a bit of an over-design.
Okay, great. Actually, Fahad, we are the major topics here today in this episode is about AI.
Sure.
Now, I have questions here. How has AI started to change traditional business model right now, in general?
That's a very, very interesting question. So I can answer this in a very simple way. The vast majority so consulting as a business is a very simple business. It's number of people multiplied by the day rate multiplied by the length of project. That's the simple business model.
Okay.
So when you add, and that model is fundamentally people. You're selling people. That's all you're doing. Exactly. Yes. So you're effectively selling human GPUs or human capacity. Now, what happens with AI and LLMs and kind of generative, generative AI, etc. What you're fundamentally doing is you're replacing a very important part of the value creation process in consulting.
Okay.
So as a result of AI, immediately you're reducing the length of projects. You're reducing, in theory, the rate of consultants on a daily basis. And of course, you're reducing the number of people you need on a project. So as a result, the volume of consultants required reduces. So as a result of AI, there is a significant amount of things become much faster as a result. So if you look anywhere in the world globally, although none of the consulting firms have formally acknowledged that they are going to start reducing the number of people they're hiring and they're going to start using more LLMs and generative AI, etc. I think it's almost inevitable that the consulting industry has to fundamentally adjust for this, because all of the research, to some extent, the analysis even today can be done using AI. And AI is only going to get better. It's not going to get worse. It's not going to stagnate in terms of how much it can do. But a lot of that initial kind of the first 20-30% of consulting, especially at a junior level, can be done using generative AI. And it's effectively research and content creation. And that's exactly what LLMs do.
Okay, so if I have a questions here, the predictive analytics.
Predictive analytics.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
What is the predictive analysis can do for any company, and what the AI can help regarding to the predictive analytics?
So at the very basic level, in terms of predictive analysis and so on, I think I had a very great relationship with the CEO of a company called Geotech. And Geotech CEO presented an idea to me. He said, Fahad, the future of managing data within the business is not looking at historical data.
Okay.
Right. So a lot of consulting is based on looking at historical data. What happened in the past will help us determine what will happen in the future.
Okay.
And as a result, you're kind of playing catch up. If you're doing this type of analysis, looking back to look forward, you're playing catch up. Now, if you look in the context of COVID, what did we have to look back to?
Nothing.
And if you look in the context of AI, there's nothing to look back to.
That's right.
So a lot of the time, a lot of organizations don't fully understand the rationale for having the systems in place for predictive maintenance, predictive analysis. But if you look at the big organizations like Aramco, they completely understand why you need these things. But in terms of AI, putting in place the infrastructure to have this type of analytics is only going to make businesses more and more robust. So I think being able to talk about data which is evidence-based data rather than historical assumptions-based data, I think this is going to be the future. And AI is going to be absolutely critical in terms of collecting data, but also in terms of analyzing that data very fast every day, every second of the day. So ultimately, all of this helps is speeding up decision making, right?
Okay.
So that's how I see it.
So it's predict what will be gonna happen in the future. Is that right?
Absolutely. So rather than looking at the past to see what's happening, let's look at what's happening now and let's look at the implications. And I think the AI is going to help you analyze it, help you extract key insights faster, but also in multiple different angles. And alhamdulillah, we're working on some interesting stuff around digital twins and stuff like that, risk management and so on. And having predictive analysis within your organization, especially if you're at risk of cybersecurity attacks and so on, this is going to be an absolute prerequisite. This is going to be a must to have these things.
Okay, Fahad, now I have a very important question for you.
Sure.
What is the impact of AI in consultation company? What is the risk?
I think there's multiple risks here. So as a business, the risk is that they're not going to be able to charge as much and the projects will start to become shorter. So as a result, they're going to have to reduce the number of people that they have. And I think the risk is that they will first start reducing the junior people.
Okay.
So that I think is the first risk. But that's at a business level. But at a quality level, I think the increase of people using AI is going to reduce the reliance of businesses on consulting firms. So I think they are going to first start reducing their team size, but I think the reliance of clients on consulting firms will also reduce. So they're going to be hit double. But I think one of the major risks is that, especially younger consultants that I've seen, they over rely on AI. And AI is very good, but AI is a function of garbage in, garbage out. So if you're using AI badly, it will give you bad results.
You have to think about what the results.
Exactly. So I've seen many people, I did my whole degree using AI and I've done my whole, my whole dissertation using AI, but it is fundamentally garbage in, garbage out. So yes, it can produce, and I think people get a bit, it's like in Las Vegas, they have those machines where you pull this out and then you start watching it and you just play for hours. I think people get like that with ChatGPT and stuff. They just love pressing enter and then they love seeing the text coming. So they get blinded by the dopamine release. But you have to be very careful with AI. You can't accept what it says. You have to challenge it and you have to learn how to control it rather than, it's like, when Google first came, people thought you can Google everything. They were just finding random articles to put into it. ChatGPT has a very strong tendency to give you confirmation bias. So what it tries to do is make you happy.
No.
It doesn't care about the content. As long as the user's happy, then it's happy, So it'll say, oh, great idea. And you'll say, what do you think about this? They'll say, oh, great idea, It's like a really bad idea. So you need to learn how to manipulate and control AI. And it's only going to get more and more complex. And Inshallah. I mean, look, just my thing is that people rely on it too much. They almost make themselves replaced by AI rather than make themselves enhanced by AI. So it's a very different mindset.
Okay. So obviously there is an impact for the consultation company by the AI, but but it's clear it's not gonna destroy this kind of businesses.
I don't think so. I mean, look, ultimately, when you have big decision makers, they don't want to sit there on a computer. They want, and I think there's a level of independence that consultants bring. There is sector expertise. There is comparative expertise that they bring. And what I do think is that the consulting projects and teams will become smaller, but fundamentally, I don't think that it's going to just destroy them. Now, there was an interesting article that the CEO of EY, Ernst & Young, the CEO, her name is Janet Trunkett, I think. Mm-hmm. She said, because of AI, we believe our business will double in size.
Okay.
And I believe the business will half in size. So we are talking about the similar magnitude. She's saying double, I'm saying half. So the magnitude is the same, right? But she's thinking glass half full, I'm thinking glass half empty. Okay. But the magnitude is same. I think consulting firms will fundamentally have to reduce 50% of their workforce in the next 10 years.
Okay.
But at the same time, that 50% that remains will be more senior, more executive, and obviously they'll be very much more comfortable.
So there will be a less job in the consultation sectors.
I can't see it being any other way, because a lot of that junior work, AI does it significantly faster. And it's still, I mean, AI is 2 years, 3 years since it's been really adopted globally at an individual level. I'm sure there was stuff happening behind the scenes, but in terms of kind of beta, kind of at a consumer level AI, it's only been, 2-3 years max, and it's only going to get better.
Okay, Fahad, I'm going to talk about the risk and data privacy using AI. I think obviously all companies now are using AI. So what happened about the data privacy and cybersecurity? For example, if I give you my data, okay, and upload it to AI, so the competitor might access my data. So how we can deal with this?
It's a huge risk, and it's one of the risks whereby most consulting firms have made it very clear that they shouldn't be using AI in terms of third-party AI systems. But as a result, a lot of these consulting firms are now doing partnerships with OpenAI. They're doing partnerships with Microsoft in terms of Copilot and stuff, and they're creating their own versions with their own data centers, etc., to minimize any kind of risks around data leaks and of course corruption of data and kind of spreading of or hacking of data, etc. But it is an absolute massive risk, and at an industry level, I know it takes place. I know people are uploading information onto ChatGPT. I know it's happening. I know that for a fact. But the provisions are there to stop it from happening. And I think every consulting firm will eventually have their own kind of data centers for them. They have to. They must.
But until now, we didn't have this kind of data privacy.
So I know, but the point is that the consulting firms that don't have it are fundamentally saying, don't use ChatGPT because it's not safe. It's not safe. It's safe for WhatsApp messages between you and your friends, but it is not safe for client data. And anyone who uses officially ChatGPT with client data is being disciplined, if not being fired, because it is a massive risk, especially in Al-Mamlaka. But obviously people will do it, and they're taking the risk.
Who knows about, so maybe a consultation firm use the AI, but
it's very difficult to tell, I mean, but at the same time, there are limitations right now. So you can't build a full financial model on ChatGPT. You can't build a full financial model. You can't build a full presentation. You can build small components, the stuff that takes time. You can do a bit of research, but this idea that ChatGPT today can replace consultants, it does not. It's not the case. I promise. As someone, I use ChatGPT every single day, right? Not for project work, but I use it every single day for shopping lists. I use it for research. I use it for my content creation. I use it for every part of my life except for client data. But even when I'm trying to what's the title of a presentation, put it in. If I want to do a bit of basic research, etc. If I want to do some basic calculations, I use ChatGPT. And I don't even type anymore. I speak to ChatGPT. So I know what the limitations are in terms of what it can produce. And I also know what the expectations are of a client. So the expectations are here. The capability of ChatGPT is here. So it can help. It can definitely help, but there's still a massive gap between what clients want and, of course, what ChatGPT and LLMs are capable of producing.
But till now, there is no regulation to control this kind of using?
I think the official regulation, like for example in Al-Mamlaka, is that any software where the data centers are outside of Al-Mamlaka are pretty much prohibited. Saudi Arabia much prefers having data centers in Al-Mamlaka. So OpenAI does not have data centers in Saudi, henceforth it's not permissible, right?
Yeah.
So that's at a government regulatory perspective. Within consulting firms, they make it very, very clear that you should not be using ChatGPT. But companies like Bain, for example, which is one of the top tier consulting firms, they have already done partnerships with organizations like OpenAI, where they're creating their own instance of OpenAI ChatGPT so that they can use it internally. And the data that they're using, the LLM that they're training, is their own. And of course, the data that they have for hundreds of thousands of projects they've done globally is then directly input in it. So they're learning from their own projects they've done.
But till now, there is no regulation or law that's control the uploading data. So for example, if I am a consultation center and I get your data and I upload it to ChatGPT anywhere else. So is there any law that can monitor this kind of...
As far as I know, there's nothing that can monitor it. But if you leave your laptop and your OpenAI is there and someone checks which searches you've done and what documents you've uploaded, you'll be fine. I mean,
when I upload it to ChatGPT, the ChatGPT will record all these information. So,
but no one can.
On another side, he might ask ChatGPT about this kind of data, and he can get it.
So I don't think there is any official law. I don't think there's any official regulation. But it is a major risk.
So you think that we should have this kind of law?
I'm not sure if a law is going to stop it from happening. I think what companies can do at best is make sure they have their own versions of their own internal systems, because I'm telling you, as a consultant, you cannot do consulting without it now. Once you start using it, you will not be able to do it without it. And it reduces the time so much. And if we as consultants, I said at the beginning, we help people make decisions. ChatGPT helps us make decisions faster. So if you said to a client, listen, I'm going to do the work manually or I'm going to do it faster. I can either give it to you in 2 weeks or in 2 days. They will say, give it to me in 2 days.
But my competitors will get access to my data. So
it's very possible. It's very possible.
So there is a leaking of my data. It's
Absolutely.
Supposed to be private.
Yeah. But I mean, look, from what I understand, there is no legal... it would be illegal, for example, to put government data into AI. So anyone who's doing that would be breaking data privacy laws and so on and so forth. So there is definitely laws around that. But how do you maintain and monitor that unless you're actually looking into their files that they're uploading?
Okay.
So yeah.
Okay, great. I have questions here about the young people. What do you advise about what should the young people study in terms to be a consultant?
I think the main thing initially, university, I think a lot of young people, the advice I give most young people is, first and foremost, you have no excuse not to get good grades at university. There's no excuse to not get good grades at university. If you go to university, at the very least, you should be getting 3.2 out of 4 GPA, right? And if you don't, there's got to be a good reason for it, right? But fundamentally, if you want to be a consultant, then first and foremost, study usually the basic foundational subjects, engineering, mathematics, finance, business, and so on. Just stick to the basics. Don't do any funky degrees, right? Just keep it simple and make sure you get good grades. Even if you hate the subject, just make sure you put the effort in and get the good grades. It's impossible for me to think something is too hard when you have YouTube, you have ChatGPT, you have all these things available to you now. there's no excuse for not getting good grades now. That's my first advice.
Right. You are right.
So self-learning is so much easier than when I was graduating. I had to read books. Now you just Google search, find the video, watch it, alhamdulillah, it's done. And if you don't do that, then you can do ChatGPT. So the point is, everyone should be getting good grades. Once you have your good grades, don't try and hack the system. Do it formally. Every single good university has a career fairs. They have in companies that come to the office, to the campus to do campus recruitment. Do the things formally, which means have a good CV, have some good internships on your CV, and then apply for consulting jobs. So that's, for me, is the minimum. If you want to go one step above, then learn, what I say to people is learn the skills of the job that you want. Again, with YouTube, with ChatGPT, if you really wanted to become a consultant, you can learn the skills of a consultant on YouTube. And if you don't want to learn the skills, at least learn the context. What type of projects are we doing? Who the clients are? Who the competitors are? What does a normal consulting project look and feel like? And so on. You don't need to be an expert, but give yourself the maximum chance by at least understanding the context of consulting.
So what's kind of skills that consultants should be know about to work in the consultation center?
So the first skill that I always encourage people to understand is the context of organizations. So how are organizations? Exactly. So what does an organization do?
Okay.
Yeah, if it's a government organization, is it a regulator? If it's a private business, is it for profit? Is it not for profit? Understand different types of organizations exist. So government, public, private, and so on, right? Profit, non-profit, and so on. So many different types of organizations exist. Understand the challenges that most of these organizations have. Like private businesses could be cash flow, government could be, okay, as a regulator, we need to define what regulations are, and so on and so forth. So businesses have different challenges. Understand some of those challenges. I'm not saying become an expert, just be comfortable with having a decent conversation with someone. And then what I would say is, understand the decision-making process in these organizations. How do these organizations make decisions? And what types of decisions are they making? Because some of the decisions are, like I said, hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars, right? So if you understand what the organization does, if you understand what types of structure, how these organizations work, and you also understand to some extent how decisions are made in these organizations, you now at that point understand the context of organizations. Just understanding a little bit about business, right? What's important, what's not. Once you've understood, so that's skill number one. If you understand the context of organizations, you've passed step one. Okay. Step two, problem solving. We as consultants are structured problem solvers. So we are paid to help organizations structure problems. And for me, the simplest way of explaining that is think of yourself like a dentist. A dentist first looks at all the symptoms. So you say, oh, doctor, my tooth is hurting, help me. He'll say, when did it start hurting? How badly is it hurting? When did you last come to the dentist? How often do you brush your teeth? What type of food are you eating?
Analyze the problem.
So first they understand all the symptoms, and then they try to identify the root cause. Okay, Fahad, so we'll do an X-ray. After the X-ray, I think the problem is you're eating too much sugar and you're not brushing your teeth enough. Okay, so we're going to have to remove the tooth. So are you ready? Okay, now then we're going to give you anesthesia and then we're going to take the tooth out. Okay. So before they do that, they have to do their homework. So structured problem solving in businesses is exactly the same. You have to start identifying the root cause. Why is our revenue going down? Before you can start solving the problem, you have to understand why the revenue is going down, for example. So that's skill number two, structured problem solving, understanding the distinction between symptom and root cause, like a dentist. Skill number three, understanding financials, because every single problem, every single decision has an implication on the financials. So being able to understand financials at a very simple level, what are the key components of revenue? It's unit multiplied by price, understanding gross profit, understanding net profit, understanding depreciation and its treatment as an accounting standard. Just some basic stuff which will allow you to create a very simple financial model. And again, you can Google this stuff, it's not rocket science, right? But financial modeling is the tool which allows decision makers to predict the future. Now, you have to use assumptions to do that, but understanding, again, the context of financial modeling is very simple. It's a tool which allows you to understand the decisions in terms of financial implications into the future. That's it. And the fourth key skill for me is communication. How do you communicate in big organizations? And that for me is fundamentally is presentations. So that's why I get the name Abu PowerPoint.
Okay.
So helping organizations
so
communicate.
Is very important things actually, is that right?
100%. In big organizations, everything is based on how good you are able to communicate. If you want people to support your idea, if you want to present an idea, if you want people to believe you if you want credibility in an organization, it's all about communication and being able to document your ideas on PowerPoint.
And present it and all this.
Exactly,
kind of
yeah.
Okay, Fahad, here I have actually last questions here. What message would you like to give to the current consultant who might feel threatened by AI?
Okay, so if you watch my TikTok videos, you would know that I'm very aggressive with the adoption of AI. And the reality is that there's going to be very little that we can do to stop AI's aggressive increase in terms of its productivity, right? AI is only going to get better. So my thing is, don't try to avoid it, try to embrace it. And as a function of embracing AI, you need to make sure that you're keeping up with AI, you're learning how to use it and manipulate it accordingly, and you're staying ahead of it. That's the best things you can do for the time being. It's going to get scary, I think so, and I'm going to be honest. I don't want to just say nice things for the sake of saying nice things. I think we need to be very careful. We need to be very cautious. Don't use AI badly. Don't use AI in an illegal way, but make sure you're using it and staying up to speed with it, because if you're not, it will replace you. That's what I would say.
Amazing. Actually, great information you have shared with us today, and really thank you for this kind of information. Actually, our podcast is about just 1 hour. We are at the end of our podcast. Thank you, Mr. Fahad.
You are most welcome. Thank you so much. And of course, thank you to Mu'taz for allowing me to and bringing me here to meet you today. I really appreciate it. Jazakallah khair.
You're participating in our podcast today, and I'm very proud that you will be there here in my office. Thank you.
You are most welcome.
Thank you.